There were 3 nominations for Deputy President: Comrade Matthews Nakedi Posa, Comrade Cyril Ramaphosa, and Comrade Turko Sehwala. Comrade Cyril Ramaphosa is the successful candidate for Deputy President.
And with that, Cyril Ramaphosa's return to mainstream politics. A man with such strong presidential ambitions that, once upon a time, together with Matthews Posa and Tokyo Sehwale, he plotted against Thabo Mbeki. But Steve Tshwete, the former police minister who had made the allegations, would later withdraw them.
Given the fact that the allegations sought to implicate very prominent people in the political and business areas, namely Comrades Matthew Posa, Cyril Ramaphosa, and Tokyo Sehwale, the police were under strict instructions to do a thorough job to establish the authenticity or otherwise of the allegations. I am convinced, after receiving the report, that indeed the investigations were thorough, and am happy to indicate that the names of these comrades have been cleared. It is regrettable that their names were made public in the first instance, and I must upfront extend my profound apologies to them and their families.
Ramaphosa would disappear from politics, well, almost, to focus on building his business empire. 23 years after this historic moment of the release of Nelson Mandela from prison, the Afro-dawning man seen here behaving like a chief marshal is not only a billionaire, he is among Africa's 40 richest people. A far cry from his humble beginnings as an activist in the South African Students' Organization. Ramaphosa really rose to prominence when he got appointed General Secretary of the National Union of Mine Workers. After his appointment, he would lead the mine workers in one of the largest strikes in the country's history. 4 years later, he would be elected Secretary General of the biggest and most powerful political party in South Africa, in one of the most bitterly contested ANC conferences.
I actually felt very humbled to have been elected in the way that I was. It was also a thrilling feeling that I had, that so much confidence had been placed on me by the delegates who've come to the Congress.
The position meant he would be Nelson Mandela's closest companion and primary aide. A relationship that would see the two men crisscross the world, raising money while also selling the former liberation movement as a sophisticated, modern-day political party ready to govern Africa's biggest economy. The bond would be so strong between the two that Mandela would be keen to anoint him to be his preferred successor. But it was not to be. At the ANC's 1997 conference, Ramaphosa stood against Thabo Mbeki for the position of deputy president. He lost. Speculation is rife that his return to politics may have everything to do with that deferred dream. His path, though, looks paved, as has been evidently the case with his business dealings. He may just be at the right place at the right time. And unlike his predecessor, Kgalema Motlanthe, Ramaphosa may have no incumbent to contest.
This is the second term that I'm running. I'm not going to run next time. Nowhere I can. In fact, my initial feeling was that I wanted to do just one term. But it is the ANC that always give me the task. But I'm sure the ANC would not also give me the task for the third term. I'll just do 2 terms. This is the last.
But then again, it's 5 years to the next ANC elective conference. A very, very long time in politics. This is more the case for Ramaphosa, who a few months ago did not even know that he would be serving the ANC at this level.
I thought the comrades who came to see me were dreaming. I thought this was a very bad dream, and I just wanted them to disappear. I actually said, "This is very awkward. I don't think I'd like to talk to you. Please go away."
What do they say they want from you?
Well, they said there's a view from a number of quarters that you should make yourself available for running for the position of deputy president. And I just said, this is not for me. I mean, this is just far too high. I said, all I ever want is to be a member of the National Executive Committee and be on some committee. That's all. That's enough for me.
Why though? Why were you reluctant?
This is a daunting task. This is not an easy calling. And I have come into this a bit reluctantly, but I have had to respond to the call of the members of the ANC.
Well, daunting task, yes, but what are you, did you have any sort of specific reservations about it? Were there very specific fears that you have that this thing might make you do things that you were not keen to do?
Not necessarily those types of fears. It's just that it's a big task. It's a very heavy task, and once you take this type of task on, it just changes your life.
Now, a lot of people seem to think that it's something you would have wanted anyway. And that, I guess, in large part comes from, you remember the episode way back years ago when it was said you had ambitions of becoming a president. Let's clear this once and for all.
Well,
Did you ever have ambitions to become ANC president one day?
The answer is a categoric no. And people have often said that when former President Nelson Mandela decided to appoint Comrade Thabo Mbeki, I sulked and I was unhappy. That is far from the truth.
Well, the other version of that is that former President Nelson Mandela wanted you to be the anointed one.
Well, that is news to me. I was never told. And he made his appointment. And once that appointment was made, I was very pleased. And I knew that my life in the ANC had to get on. I had to do a whole lot of other things. And to that end, I was then asked to chair the Constitutional Assembly. So in the ANC, people are deployed. They are given a task to do. And quite often, one should never say no. You do the work that is at hand and you do it to the best of your ability. Like right now, I've been given this task. It was not my choice. I didn't wish for it. I didn't do it, because I campaigned for it. I've been deployed, and I will do my job. I will do it to the best of my ability.
Before we get to what that job is going to be, I want to ask you, I interviewed President Zuma, and he said to me, this is his last term. He's serving 2 terms, and this is it. He knows that he said it the last time, and people came back to him, but this time around, it's not going to happen again. Now, if the people who came to you and said, we want you to stand for, we want to nominate you for the position of party deputy president, if they come back and say, we think you should be the president of the ANC in 5 years' time, what would you say?
Well, it is if. It is if, and right now, they've put me in this position. That's all I know. And that's all I want to do, to work as the deputy president and support President Zuma, be his assistant, and do what he directs me to do. That is my job. And anything else is outside of my imagination, outside of my wish. I just want to do and concentrate and deploy all my energies in what has to be done. This other thing of looking 20 years from now, 100 years from now, is not part of my makeup. I just want to do what I have to do now. For the next 5 years, that's my job and my preoccupation.
Mr. Ramaphosa, this conversation continues right after this short ad break. Welcome back. This is Sunday Live, and we're in conversation with ANC Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa. Mr. Ramaphosa, now, what do you understand as what is going to be your primary role in the affairs of the ANC?
My primary role in the work of the ANC is to work as part of the collective with the officials that have been elected with under the leadership of President Zuma, and to work as a part of the collective of the National Executive Committee, and obviously as part of the membership of the ANC. So as deputy, clearly set out in our constitution, I assist the president. I am there to support him in his work, and that's my job. What I obviously will be doing together with others is to do everything we can to implement the resolutions of Mangaung, to ensure that we build the organization. This is the year, this is the decade of the cadre. We need to do everything that the conference resolved on to make sure that we build the cadres of the ANC and make sure that the ANC becomes the structure that will lead this alliance in terms of achieving the objectives of the National Democratic Revolution. That is going to be my job, together with a whole lot of other comrades who were also elected.
Before conference, in the years that you've been outside of the leadership, you were not occupying any leadership position, did any new views form about the ANC or what the ANC has become? In other words, are there things that when you were outside, so to speak, when you're looking inside, you thought, this needs fixing, this needs fixing, that needs fixing, as far as the ANC is concerned?
You must remember that as a loyal member of the ANC and as part of the National Executive Committee, I've been exposed to a lot of things that have been happening in the ANC. And many of us will attest to the fact that we have been facing a number of challenges. And the ANC is possibly the only party that there is in South Africa today that has been so transparent, so open about the challenges it faces, about the weaknesses that it has. It has spoken openly about them, and in doing so has also come up with solutions of what needs to be done to correct some of the things that are not going right. I mean, some of the things that have not been going right, we found that our cadres in the ANC, there have been weaknesses, there's been corruption, there's been lack of commitment. Not all of them. Many of the members of the ANC are absolutely committed to ensuring that we achieve the ideals of our revolution. There have been some, and so that has constituted some of the weaknesses and the challenges that the ANC has faced. So to this end, the conference came up with this wonderful initiative that this is going to be the decade of the cadre, where we are going to sharpen the wits of our cadre, where we are going to make sure that we develop our cadre, we increase the level of political education in the ANC, and we've added another aspect of it, also academic education. We increase the skills of our cadre so that they are well armed to deal with the new situation that we operate under today. And that is the exciting part about this organization, that it is able to renew itself. Somebody said that this organization can cleanse itself. It's an organization that puts all, if you like, its dirty linen in the public, and thereafter it says, having done so, we are going to clean ourselves up, we're going to renew ourselves, and we're going to turn ourselves into a well-oiled, functioning machine. And that is what I'm also going to be committed in ensuring that it happens.
Now, as it was becoming apparent that you were going to occupy the position or elected into as party deputy president, a lot of people then started asking whether a rich businessman can really still identify in as many respects as you used to, you know, with the voice of the people on the ground, the poor people that form the bulk of the ANC constituency.
Yeah. We must remember that the ANC is a broad church, as people sometimes call it. We're a multi-class organization. We appeal and have membership right across the board, from the poorest person to people who you could say are in the middle class and upper class. And one's position, once you're in the ANC, one's positioning wherever you are should never really, in my view, change what I would say your consciousness. My consciousness remains exactly what it was years ago when I was campaigning for mine workers' rights. To today, I still campaign for mine workers' rights. My consciousness, my positioning on various issues has not changed an iota. And being a member of the ANC has imbued me with that level of consciousness, level of understanding, of having a deep understanding of the needs of our people. That I have never changed from. All I have ever been is to become a businessman. And being a businessman, as far as the ANC is concerned, is not a sin. It's not something that should be looked down upon. And in fact, that's what the ANC wants to see happening. We want to develop entrepreneurs. We want as many of our people as possible to get into business, to run their own businesses and own their businesses. That is what I did. I developed a business. I ran it for a couple of years. Now I'm going to go back into full-time politics. And as I've said, I'm going to review my business interests, my business obligations and positions, and at a later stage, I am going to issue a statement. Now, as to how much money one has in the bank, should not change your positioning and consciousness.
But you do understand where some of that thinking comes from. I know this is something you've expressed your regrets about, the 18 million and the bull episode.
I'll address that.
But you understand where people are coming from. That if someone is prepared to bid for a bull for millions of rands, then their outlook, you know, the way they live their lives, the way they relate to other people, is a different matter altogether.
I understand that. I mean, obviously there is a great sensitivity, and coming to this issue of the Buffalo Bull, I mean, as it was raised at the time, I finally did apologize, and many people have criticized me for apologizing because they've said, but it is a business decision. You're a farmer and you buy these animals because you want the best genetics, and when they have progeny, you sell that. It is a business. It's like, you buy a big machinery for a lot of money and you make things with it and you sell whatever you produce. And they said, that's how you should have approached it. And I said to them, I could not sound arrogant to the masses of our people at the time and give that type of explanation, because many people had died in Marikana, and I did not want to try and give justification for that, and that's why I apologized. But the reality of the matter is that I'm a farmer, and I run farming as a business. And bidding for that animal meant that I saw a business opportunity, but at the time, I could not put that argument forward because people would have said, he's being arrogant now. But now I can give the explanation and say, it is a business. And hopefully, things have quietened down a bit.
Speaking of Marikana, would you say that the Marikana episode, there are things also during the Marikana episode, I'm talking specifically about the emails. What do you think now, or with the benefit of hindsight, should you have written those emails? Do you stand by them?
I think the emails were seen out of context, completely out of context, and as it so happened, they were, given greater ventilation by, other people. What I was dealing with was a situation that I saw as being very, very dangerous. 10 people had died in Marikana, and I'll possibly, if I'm ever called, I'll be able to give that explanation. So it is a bit sub judice, but 10 people had died, and I was concerned about further loss of life. And by no stretch of anybody's imagination could I ever have said, deal with the people who finally died. There is just no way a sensible person, particularly someone who has worked with mine workers for the number of years that I did, could ever have said so. So I think the story will still be told.
Okay. Mr. Ramaphosa, I want us to now talk about the view that certain people now hold that you are going to be the voice of business within the ANC, and whether that is what indeed you are going to do. That's after this short commercial break. Welcome back. We're in conversation with newly elected ANC Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa. Mr. Ramaphosa, a lot of people are saying, you saw the markets, prominent business people saying we welcome the election of Cyril Ramaphosa as Deputy President of the ANC. And with that comes the idea or the notion that you are perhaps going to be the voice of business within the ANC. Is that the role you're going to play?
I think for those people who have that notion, that is a false notion, for starters. Leaders of the ANC are never elected to go and advocate the positions of certain groups. What the ANC stands for is the people of our country. And we are, as the ANC, a very, very dedicated part of the left. And we are pro-poor, and that's what I will be advocating. And if anybody were to say that, is that what I'm going to do, I will say yes. Am I going to represent the interests of business? The answer is no. I'll be advocating the interests of our people as a whole, as set out in various documents that we have adopted, starting with the Freedom Charter and also ending up with the resolutions that we have adopted here. And all those resolutions are about advancing the interests of our people, making sure that this democratic process, democratic revolution that we have embarked on, this journey, is realized. The transformation that we want to see both at economic level and at social level is achieved. And in the course of doing so, obviously we will need to interact with a whole range of players and partners in the South African situation. We will indeed interact with workers through their trade unions. We will interact with religious groupings, with women groupings, as well as business. Now, what I am deeply in favor of is that we should all work together. And indeed, we will also interact with media. We should all work together to achieve the ideals that are set out in the National Development Plan, which President Zuma has led this country in accepting. So that is going to be the key interest grouping, if you like, that I will be advocating.
Let's talk for a second about business. What is your view of the role that business is or has been playing in developing South Africa? Do you believe that business is doing or has done the best that it could do to help this country develop?
My answer to that is no. The business community has not stepped up to the plate, as they say colloquially. It has held back. It has avoided stepping forward and being counted for what needs to be done in South Africa. And I regret to say some of business leaders have tended to stand on the sidelines, to watch what's happening, and not seeing themselves as being part of this evolutionary process of developing South Africa. Some of them have just been content with paying their taxes, and yet there is a role for all of us, especially the business community, working organization or trade union, to play a key role in building a social compact, a compact that can take this country forward.
What is the specific role of business in that compact?
The specific role of business, is multifaceted. They need to make sure that their voice is heard. Whatever interests that they have are clearly articulated, and where there is an accommodation that can be made, it should be accommodated. But more importantly, business should be investing in the future of this country. Business should be playing a critical role in the development of skills. Business should be saying to the universities, to schools, this is what we think should be done in order to streamline our education, both at high school level, at university level. This is the contribution that we are prepared to make, and make the contribution. This is how we want to bring young people in the working place so that we teach them skills. We've lost a lot of technical capability in our country. Business knows that we've lost that capability, and it needs to step up.
Why do you think they haven't stepped up to the plate?
I think that as soon as the democratic government came in, they stepped back and almost left.
Was that hostility towards the ANC?
Obviously, there was that hostility, and I would like to say that that hostility should now dissipate. This government is more interested in advancing the interests of South Africa than advancing its own parochial interests.
I guess the question then would be, what did you as a business person who comes from the background you're coming from, you've been Secretary General of the ANC, you've been in the NUM, with all that background, and you became a prominent businessman, trusted and liked by established business. What did you then do to debunk the myths that were there about the ANC and what it seeks to do?
Well, as part of the Black Business Council, we've all been advocating a greater engagement between business, established business, and the ANC. And it has been a long process. And my own view is that they should now step forward. And on the ANC side, the ANC, as articulated by President Zuma, is going to be much more open to engaging all the social partners in a much more proactive way to get them to buy into the process that the government has embarked on. The government has embarked on bold initiatives. The National Development Plan, for instance, the infrastructure project, the industrial program that has come up, the new growth path, all these cannot be done by government alone. And government therefore needs partners. And business is one of the obvious partners. Labor is another obvious partners. And there are a whole lot of other social partners that need to be brought together to make sure that we realize the ideals that are set out in the National Development Plan. So there is a role for everyone to play in all this. And I believe that if all of us, including the media, if all of us play this role, this country can truly take off. The ANC government, the ANC itself has taken really good decisions. And the president has led us all in getting the National Development Plan drafted. And with that, we're now armed with all the tools, all the capabilities of getting this country to take off. And all we need to do is to put shoulder to wheel, all of us, and make this country work. And it can work.
Mr. Ramaphosa, we're going to take another quick commercial break. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back. You're watching a conversation with ANC Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa. So Ramaphosa, I want us to talk about the unions. You have a background in the unions. The NUM, some people tell us, has worked very hard. They are among the people who actually lobbied for you to become ANC Deputy President today. But you sort of long cut routes. You were on the other side of the fence, so to speak, as a boss. How do you ensure that the ANC's alliance with COSATU remains probably as vibrant as ever, especially because, truth be told, things aren't as good between the two alliance partners as they once were, as things stand?
Well, I don't think things are bad between the alliance partners. You must remember that members of COSATU are also members of the ANC. At the conference that we've just risen from, you had a lot of COSATU members within the ranks of the membership of the ANC. So they love the ANC and they also love COSATU. So this notion that there is tension between the two is not borne out by the reality that I saw on the floor of the conference and in the corridors as we were moving around.
I don't think a lot of people would disagree with you, but if you take two things, one, Secretary General saying it must always be remembered that the ANC represents everybody,
Yes.
whereas COSATU represents the workers. So that tells you that there is something in there, big or small, but there's something in there. If you listen to Blade Nzimande at the time he was giving the message of support to the ANC before the close of conference, again he was talking about leaders and workers. It was all coded, but I don't think there were the prizes for guessing who he was talking about there. But what I'm saying is those two things on their own begin to suggest that there is that tension, bubbling perhaps, maybe not, doesn't have fully exploded, but the relationship is far from ideal.
I think whatever tension that may be perceived is a storm in a teacup. I mean, it is not born out of the reality that exists on the ground. And those members of COSATU, members of our communities, and the ANC is their representative, it's their voice, and it's their organization. But be that as it may, what now needs to happen going forward, as it has been the case, is that there needs, and it was resolved at the conference, to be tighter coordination and tighter working together between the members of the alliance as led by the ANC. And all of us as leaders of the ANC are going to be making sure that we improve the way that we work. This is a continuous task. We need to be doing so all the time and improve lines of communication, lines of consultation, and make sure that we work together, not only in the boardroom, as it were, but also on the ground, in campaigns, and we ensure that the decisions that have been taken by the ANC conference are also implemented. Because COSATU members and COSATU itself has a deep interest in making sure that those decisions are implemented. So on that, we are one. We are completely ad idem. And what you may read about, a tiff between, just leaders here and there, usually just a storm in a teacup, and that can be solved very quickly. I mean, like with tea cools down very quickly, and we are going to make sure that it keeps cooling down, and we focus our eyes on achieving the ideals of our revolution.
What is your overall sense or assessment of the state of COSATU in particular, but organized labor broadly?
COSATU is a mighty organization that has 2 million members, and it has a plethora of unions in various sectors of our economy. It is a well-oiled machine, and they've achieved a great deal. And I take off my hat to them. When I left the union, it was not even 1 million members. It got to 1 million, and now today it's 2 million. And clearly, in the new situation, all unions face challenges that are given rise by unemployment, that are given rise by the state of not only our economy here, but the world economy. There are various pressures that we are all exposed to, and unions have to respond to that. It's a new situation that all of us have to respond to. The challenges of inequality and unemployment and all that are things that we all have to address. So the trade union movement also faces that. And with that, they've got also to develop new strategies of making sure that their members, their own leaders, are able to address that. The NUM, for instance, is facing new challenges that did not exist when I was there. and they have met and they have decided that they are going to address these new challenges. There's a rival union that has come from nowhere. They used to have a total monopoly. Now they've got to face that. Like in the business world, sometimes you have a monopoly and sometimes a new competitor comes in. You've got to develop new strategies, and that's what they have to do.
So
as
people
well.
have a sense that the NUM in particular, your former union, has actually become weaker. In other words, it's not about new challenges as such, but it's about the NUM having become weaker.
Like any other organization, the life of any organization, be it a business, be it an organization, it goes through ebbs of highs and lows in its own history. And the NUM is facing a particular challenge that has weakened it in certain areas and in certain respects. But hey, organizations that face challenges are able to pick themselves up. Like the ANC, throughout our 101-year history, there have been moments when the ANC was very weak. Weak to a point where people thought that it was going to collapse. It rose as a phoenix. Time and time again, it rose as a phoenix from the ashes. And today, it is the gigantic, glorious organization that it is, because it has had the ability to renew itself. It has had the ability to strengthen itself along the way, and doing so through open debate, democracy, and full transparency. And I guess that's what the unions in COSATU have to do. Some of them have started doing that, and they will pick themselves up.
Very briefly, casting your mind back to the Marikana incident, when you looked at what happened there, did you feel at the time that perhaps some of the problems could have been or could not have been as worse as they were if the NUM was a lot stronger than it actually is? Did you feel that way?
Oh yes. I think, with the Marikana situation, it would be false to say that nobody should share the blame. Everybody should share the blame. The unions should share the blame. The company should share the blame. Even government should share the blame. There are a lot of things that happened at Marikana that were not constructed in a way where it was conducive to have a good life for our people there. And so therefore, all of us need to take some blame, but more importantly, we need to draw important lessons out of that and make sure that we never, ever put our people through a situation like that. Working people, people in the community, we need to change all that. Companies, mining or otherwise, they need to make sure that when they employ people, they look after those people. They expose them to the best conditions of employment, but not only employment, living. I'm now saying that companies must be interested in where their workers live and how their workers live. It must not only be having an interest in the worker as they walk through the factory floor or the factory gate or the mine gate. We should be asking, where do you live? How do you live? But go beyond that. How does your family live? Do your children go to school? And companies must now begin to share the responsibility with government of making sure that we look after our people in a wholesome way. And that is where the failure was at Marikana. And I feel quite strongly about it and would like to make sure that in whatever we do as South Africans, Marikana is something that is a distant memory of what needs to be done in South Africa.
I hear someone saying, have you been preaching this message to your fellow directors at Lonmin?
Yes, sir. I have been preaching that message, and I want to continue preaching it because at a personal level, I think that's where the failing was. And I would like all of us, people in the business community, in government, wherever we are, even the trade union movement, we should be standing on our feet and saying that South Africans deserve to live a lot better than what we've been exposed to. And that is why the challenges that the ANC has identified, the triple challenges that COSATU and others in the alliance have identified, are critical for us to address to make sure that South Africans have a good and better life. We deserve that. We've come out of the nightmare and horror of apartheid. We now need to put our people on a much better footing in as far as their livelihoods are concerned.
Mr. Ramaphosa, allow us to take another short ad break. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back. We're in conversation with a newly elected ANC Deputy President, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa. As we go towards the end of this interview, I want to ask you about two people, the former ANC Deputy President, Kgalema Motlanthe, and President Jacob Zuma. I want to start with Mr. Motlanthe. This is someone you've worked with. What is your view of him? How will you describe him to someone who doesn't know?
I have the deepest respect for Deputy President Kgalema Motlanthe. I've worked with him in the NUM. When he came out of prison, he came knocking at the NUM door, and as soon as we saw him, we said, come inside, you have a job, we want you to help us build this union. He has a very sharp mind, a very clear mind, politically clear mind when it comes to how organizations function. He is one of the best political educators that I've come across. He understands not only the history of South Africa, but the history of the ANC in a very thorough and deep way. And he is a person who is very, very relaxed, likable, and he is someone who is very trustworthy, who is loyal, who loves the ANC, and who I have enjoyed working with very, very thoroughly.
Well, from what President Zuma told us, the three of you had a conversation about the role that he is now going to play as the head of the political school of the ANC. Did he at any point intimate that he would rather concentrate maybe on the political school and other things other than the stuff of government?
No, it's not either or. I mean, Comrade Kgalema Motlanthe's first love, really, in the political sphere is political education. He is well versed in it, and he has deep capability about that area of work, and it was just an easy conversation and an easy conclusion and decision that Comrade Kgalema Motlanthe should focus on that. You will recall that when he was still agonizing over what he should do, whether to stand or not, he did say what he would really love to do was to go and work with COSAS. And what was that about? It was about political education.
Would you have accepted nomination for deputy president if he
was contesting that?
No,
Why? Why not?
because we would have had Comrade Kgalema Motlanthe standing as deputy president. And when it was clear that he was not going to stand for deputy president, it became an easier decision for me at a personal level. So Comrade Kgalema Motlanthe is not going to be lost to the ANC. He's going to be working at the very, very good level in the ANC, and he'll be dealing with what I call the heartbeat area of the ANC political education. And that is where his skills are best deployed, and that is his greatest love. And we are going to benefit immensely from his contribution there and participation there. And that is why there was no hesitation whatsoever between myself and the president that that is where Kgalema should be deployed.
Well, there's been speculation. People have been talking. You even saw the reports that he may leave government. None of us know. But in the event he was to leave government, would you go to government?
You know, I've been elected as deputy president of the ANC, and that is the area of work that I am focusing on. Government issues are the prerogative of the president. He has to choose and decide what he does. I am very pleased with where I am, and I want to make a contribution where I am in the ANC.
But if he was to say, I want you in government for one role or the other, would you consider that?
You know, I could say that I speculated a lot when I was in business, and in politics, I'd like not to speculate. I want to deal with the reality. And the reality that I deal with is being in the ANC. That to me is the clear reality, and that is where I want to put all in me to work towards achieving the tasks at hand.
Lastly and very briefly, President Jacob Zuma. What is the one thing that you like about him?
The one thing that I really like about President Zuma is that in his presidency, he decided that he wants South Africa to have a blueprint, the National Development Plan. I've told him in private, and I've said it publicly, that if there is one amongst many things that he's going to bequeath for this country, it is the National Development Plan, a vision for 2030. I think on that, I give him the best praise, because he has lifted our eyes into the future, and he's given us a plan and a vision. What he did was to say, we need 26 people. Exclude me from the 25 clever people to craft a plan for us. And he said, I want people who are not ANC necessarily, who are experts at what they do, who are going to come up with a cross-cutting plan and be as critical as they can be. And they came up with a diagnostic plan, which was very critical of government, and not every president in the world will want a strange bunch of people to come and criticize what he's doing in government. He allowed that to happen, and I believe that is bravery of the first order. And having done that, he then adopted the plan that they've come up with, and he now says, we're going to implement that plan. That is what I really applaud the president for.
And you're not singing his praises because you are a beneficiary of his slate?
No, I'm not singing his praises. I informed him way before even the ANC conference. I said, President, this is one of the best things that many people in South Africa don't recognize and realize. You are, through this plan, are going to change the trajectory of this country going forward.
Mr. Ramaphosa, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Buya. Thank you.
Well, that's how we come to the end of this conversation with Cyril Ramaphosa, the ANC's Deputy President. Until next week, good night.
basically the ANC's manifesto for the year, the governing party telling the nation what it is exactly that it has in store for us South Africans in 2013. Now, I'm not alone as usual. I'm with my colleagues Blaine Hammond as well as Tommy Dixon, who are our men on the ground this morning. Over to you, Tommy.
Thank you very much for your welcome here inside the stadium. It's getting very electric now here. People are getting inside the stadium. Already we can hear already thousands of people. They're already inside. We are told that more others are still going to come because we do know that the ANC has booked over 1,000 buses and 8 trains and hundreds of taxis to bring people here at this stadium from all over the country. So this is going to be one big party that is going to happen here. But what's happening now, people are being entertained as we wait for the beginning of the formal program today that will culminate in the message of the day. We have seen the leaders of the ANC, the National Executive Committee arriving already. They've passed here, taking their seats on the stage, waiting for that moment. I've seen the Deputy President of the ANC, Cyril Ramaphosa, he's already here, and I've seen as well the Chairperson of the ANC, Mama Ubale Kambete is already here, and the Treasurer General as well, Zweli Mkhize, is already here, and many other leaders of the ANC, they've already arrived. So that tells us that maybe very shortly from now, the program is going to get underway. We are waiting indeed for President Zuma to arrive so that the program can then formally begin. But then I'm also with my colleague here on the pitch, that is Zain, who is on the other side of the stadium. Hi, Zain.
You're live from the Kings Park Stadium here in Durban. It is indeed a huge milestone for the ANC. 101 years founded back. A chance for the ANC to reflect on the challenges it's gone through and also look forward to some projects that it has in the pipeline. But it all boils down to the wants and the needs of the people. As Tommy said, over 1,000 buses, some 600 taxis and 8 trains were used to help transport people here. The ANC is expecting a capacity crowd, and they're here for the all-important January 8th statement, which really sets the tone for the coming year. What can we expect? People here want to know in terms of the Deputy President of the ANC, Cyril Ramaphosa, yesterday said that the President will touch on the issues of unemployment, issues of inequality, and issues of poverty. Unemployment, we know, is sitting at 29.8%, and if you look at it wider, it's sitting around 40%. So lots more work to be done in order to rectify that figure. Lots to talk about here at Kings Park, but for now, it's back to you.
Well, thanks there to Blaine Hammond, our correspondent, together with Tommy Dixon, who are both our men on the ground. Well, joining us now is the ANC's Secretary General, Mr. Gwede Mandasha. Mr. Mandasha, Happy New Year to you and welcome to this broadcast.
Good morning, Mr. Mvoko.
Well, a lot of planning would have gone into today. What is it exactly that the ANC has in store for us? Perhaps before we even get there, let's talk very briefly about the significance of January the 8th. Why is it important for this nation every year on the 8th of January to listen to what the ANC has to say?
January 8th is the birthday of the ANC. It has developed into a tradition and a culture for the ANC through its president on behalf of the National Executive Committee to give directives, first to its own cadres, give them tasks, and call on the people of South Africa to support and rally behind the programs of the ANC. And that tradition is continuing on and on for years. Since the 70s, it has been continuing, and it will not stop now. It has become even more important now that the ANC is a governing party, because it must talk to the program of transforming society and changing the lives of the people. But it is not the ANC's sole responsibility to change the lives of the people. It must be part of mobilizing society to take charge of their own destiny.
Now, what are the key things that this year the ANC wants to make sure that every South African rallies behind it in the execution of those tasks. What are the tasks that you're putting on the table for 2013?
The first thing that you should appreciate is even better this year because we are from the national conference. So what was resolved in the national conference constitute the program. More important is the adoption of the National Development Plan as the document that must guide all South Africans. The ANC will rally behind the National Development Plan because that plan is ours, that plan is everybody's, that plan is for the country. Therefore, the country has a 20-year window of planning. It must continue rolling it out until societies change. And therefore, you can go to that plan. It has put on top of the agenda the question of education. Education is two most priority. They've identified 7, but 2 most important is education and dealing with poverty. So the ANC, of course, will have to ensure that when you deal with those 2, they're integrated, because once you improve the education system, you are dealing with poverty at household level.
Let's start with education. Last year, you know, the Limpopo textbooks crisis. And if you look at the reports of the past few days around the norms and standards, again, the Minister of Education is facing a barrage of criticisms about the lack of specifics in the norms and standards, which then leads a lot of people to say or conclude that, in fact, the ANC is not as serious about education as it claims to be.
When people say that, they must assess the progress made. You know, I had the opportunity of looking at the censorship, Censor 2011, the statistics of what the state of the country is. And I was the element of education, where the yellow man was tracing the development of education from 4 different systems and how we've actually closed the gap to a point where there's one system and there's almost equality in the system. If you are a spectator, you won't feel that, you won't understand that. At a point, Bantu education was at the bottom of the heap. Today, more African learners are in school. More girl children are in school. More and more. The number of students in universities increased from 600,000 to over 900,000. The number of students in FET colleges have increased from 339 to 627,000. Now, that progress is what you should be measuring education about. When you have the matric results coming out, you must always watch what has happened to Limpopo. The debacle of the books, but the effort that went in saved Limpopo, and there's improvement. What people don't know, when there's a debacle like the Limpopo one, a lot of energy spent in that area. It translates in improvement of the results. And you go to the Eastern Cape, for the first time since 2003, the Eastern Cape broke through the 60% in matric. Those are the things that you must count, and then ring fence your problem. We're still struggling in the area of maths and science. Take that and say, what is it that we're going to do to improve maths and science?
Yeah, now, before we move on to the other issues, would you not accept, though, that what has happened in Limpopo and what is happening now with regard to norms and standards actually takes away from the good work that you've been doing overall? Would you not accept that and perhaps find a way of dealing with those things that perhaps take away from the good work that has been done?
I know. That's why I'm saying you ring fence problems, but you cannot characterize education on the basis of the Limpopo debacle. When the 8 other provinces are doing relatively well, you use those to push. That's why Gauteng has moved on. The Western Cape has marked time. Free State has moved on. Northern Cape has moved on. Northwest has moved on. You must be able to put a lot of energy there while you are addressing the problem. The psyche in the nation sometimes is that when there is a problem in a particular province, you leave everything, you collapse everything, you run to that problem. If you do that, you'll collapse the system. You continue investing time and energy. Where there's good work, you address the problem. That is the approach.
Now, unemployment is the other challenge that you're going to be talking about and you want South Africans to face this year. What is it that the ANC is planning to do, and where do you want the nation to rally behind you?
You'll find out that the ANC government has put in place an infrastructure program. That infrastructure program must actually be a tool for the government to lead economic growth. It's government-led economic growth. But it will not go to give us maximum result and optimal results if the private sector is not coming to the party. As the state is investing in infrastructure, the mines reacting to the wave of strikes are closing. Kusasa Late, which is Elansran in Carltonville. Anglo is announcing 12,000 jobs that are going to be destroyed. Now, if the government moves this way and the private sector moves the opposite direction, we are not a nation. So what is important is to mobilize the private sector to appreciate that they have equal a responsibility in ensuring that we invest in creating jobs.
Okay. Now, last.
But there's another responsibility. You cannot have rights exercised by trembling on other rights. You can't have strikes that are characterized with violence and destruction of property. When you do that, I've said that to my fellow trade unionists, that if you continue this way, you are actively destroying the right to strike. Because if the right to strike is equal to violence and destruction of property, you are destroying that right. Protect that right is an important right.
Lastly, and very briefly, you have been here for the whole of, for this past week. Cyril Ramaphosa has been here. Baleka Mbete, the chairperson of the ANC, has been here. What have you been trying to do? What were you doing? You've been seen going around, going to taxi ranks, to bus terminuses. What were you doing, addressing business people? What were you trying to do over the past week?
What we have taken over from the last term, which we thought is good, if we have January 8th moves from one province to the next, every time it goes to that province, we go through that province and interact, so that the people of the province that host the January 8th should not just read about it like other people in other provinces. They must have the opportunity to talk to the leadership of the ANC, ask questions, engage, interact, feel the ANC and not hear it. And that is what we've been doing. We've been talking to the people of KZN, we've been to almost all the regions, and talking to members and non-members, explaining what ANC stands for, delivering lectures, and listening to questions, get quizzed from area to area, and that adds value in terms of people beginning to understand what the ANC stands for.
Mr. Mandashe, thank you very much for talking to us, and we're looking forward to President Jacob Zuma's message this morning.
Thank you very much. I've avoided giving you details of the message so that the president must deliver the message.
He will indeed.
Yes.
Well, Gwede Mandashe, the Secretary General of the ANC, giving us a sense of what is to come, but also the thinking behind some of the things that you will be hearing later on when we bring you that speech live by ANC President Mr. Jacob Zuma. For now, though, we're going straight to the podium just to get a sense of where things are and what's going on, after which Tammy Dixon and Blaine Hammond will also brief you from their vantage points.
Well, great excitement. It's electrifying here at the Kings Park Stadium. People are enjoying themselves, celebrating the birthday of the ANC, 101 years. It's a milestone indeed. As you can see on the stage, you can see all over the stadium, thousands of people have packed the stadium to celebrate this momentous occasion. But I am together now with the Premier of Gauteng, Umama Unomvula Mokonyane, who's going to talk to us about her experiences as well as how she remembers this day and as to what is it that the ANC should always remember as it celebrates its birthday.
We have to celebrate this day, amongst others, because of the work that the ANC has done for the people of South Africa. We remain humble, those of us who came after, that they were founder leaders of the African National Congress. But what is of importance is to come here today and get the message that we have to take to all corners of South Africa as to what the ANC will be doing throughout this year when it turns 101 years old.
I think that's the key, given that there's quite a lot of issues of unemployment in South Africa that affects young people. What do you think that young people, as they come here to celebrate, should take out of this?
We need to listen attentively as young people as to what the ANC is saying on issues of education, skills development, unemployment, inequality, and most importantly, health issues as well as social cohesion. We must remember, those of us who are young and younger than me, that the future of this country is in our hands. And therefore, the best weapon is for us to invest and take advantage of the education processes where we have moved on out of the education development, ensure that we've got the necessary skills to lead politically, but to also grow the economy and to also benefit. Beneficiation must be an end result of education, of skills development, of organizational discipline, and serving our people.
I see that women are quite represented here. I see the colors over there of women, quite excited. What's the role of women right now in terms of ensuring that they also benefit from empowerment?
Women, amongst other things, looking at just the education from grade R, the enrollment of the girl child and the performance of the girl child in education is very important. The participation of women in economic development, not only as beneficiaries, but also as those who create the wealth, is also quite important. The implementation by everybody of policies that seek to empower women, access to markets, equal opportunities, and most importantly, direct participation in all decision-making structures is quite important. And in the ANC, you can see how women are recognized and are given responsibility. And here today, you can see also the turnout of women. Therefore, women must assert themselves, must seize the opportunity, must be supported, and it must start with the girl child.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Well, that's Mama Unomvula Mokonyane ongu premier okanye undunankulu ke pha kwiphondo lase Gauteng naye chaza ke okubana njengoba lapha nje nabo nomama balapha esitsho into obana nolutsha nabo njengoba lapha nje lungaphelelwa lithemba ngenxa into basazi into obana kukho ingxaki ke malunga nokunqaba kwemisebenzi sitsho isithi obana i-ANC izawuzama kangangoko ukulungisa lo ngxaki kanti ke siyabona ke kuyaqhuba stage quite a lot of excitement. The entertainment program is underway here inside the stadium. As you can see that different groups are performing and entertaining the crowds that have come here to enjoy themselves as we wait for the big moment, which is President Zuma delivering the key message of the ANC.
You're live from the Kings Park Stadium here in Durban for the January 8th statement in Durban. It has indeed been an eventful and trying 101 years filled with milestones and establishments. If you look, take for example, back in 1943, the ANC Women's League was established. A year later, in 1944, the ANC Youth League was established. In 1960, remember, the ANC was banned. And then in 1990, together with other political parties, the ANC was unbanned. What can we expect in 2013? And what are the people expecting that have gathered here at Kings Park? I've got Tom Banda from Newcastle. Now, Tom, I know we're competing with all the crowds here, but Tom, what are you expecting from the president?
What I'm expecting from the president is that the president is going to speak about the three social ills. The three social ills, that is unemployment, inequality, and poverty. Because we know that people of South Africa are suffering from these three illnesses. He has got to improve or implement these three social ills. I also think that the president is going to speak about education, to improve the quality of education in South Africa, particularly on the on mathematics and science. That is very, very important because the standard of education in South Africa is very low. Yes.
Let's just talk a bit about the unemployment rate. It's sitting at around 29.8%. If you look at it broad, it's sitting around 40%. Are you concerned as a citizen about the unemployment rate in South Africa?
Yes, I'm very much concerned about unemployment, particularly on the youth, because now the president is trying to introduce the youth fund. He has got to have a process where he's going to put this youth fund to the youth, because a lot of youth in South Africa, they're unemployed. So he must put them on the on the FET or in tertiary level, so that he can give them this money, not through the cash, but so that he can improve the rate of unemployment. I also think about the the land distribution.
Yeah.
The land distribution in South Africa is very slow. The president is going to come out with something about this land, that willing buyer and willing seller, that he must speed up that process, which is very much important about the land issue.
Tom Banda from Newcastle, thank you very much. As you can see, a lot of people still coming into the stadium. There's been a surge of people coming to the stadium. The ANC did say that we can expect a capacity crowd, but I think now that they're bringing a certain amount of people to the center of the stage. Let's carry on with our conversation. Ma'am, thank you very much for joining us. Your name and where you're from?
My name is Mary Kompane from Northwest Madibe local municipality.
And what do you expect the president to say?
I'm expecting from the president, he must pronounce only on the education, a better education for the children, and also a better economy of the country, because the economy is not okay. It's only the two things, education and also the economy.
Thank you very much. Education seemingly a topical issue here for the January 8th statement. As I said, people are surging now to the center of the stage. Let's hand it over now to Vuyo.
Well, thanks there to Blaine Hammond, who together with Tommy Dixon are our men on the ground. Well, we're going to go back to Tommy Dixon, who has spent the past week here in and around Durban, talking to ANC leaders as they were going about visiting taxi ranks, addressing business forums, addressing ordinary members of the ANC. Tammy, let's just give us a sense. Over the past week, we saw in our bulletins Baleka Mbete, the chairperson of the ANC, Gwede Mandashe, who was here, the Secretary General of the party, as well as Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa, going around speaking to ordinary people. What were your observations? What were they doing?
Well, thank you very much, Vuyo. It was a mobilization program of the ANC. As we know that even every year when the ANC celebrates its birthday, they will always have a mobilization program leading up to the day. So all the leaders of the ANC will be on the ground, the top 6, the ANC members will be deployed. But I just want to talk quickly now to the provincial secretary of the ANC in this province. I see people running inside the pitch just to check with him if everything is well now as the program is about to start. Sihle Segalala, thank you very much for giving us this time. I see people running inside the pitch. Is everything well now?
Everything is going well. We're very, very happy. Since we came back from the 53rd National Conference, we have never had a rest. We went down to structures, activated structures, mobilizing for people to attend. The response has been very, very positive. We convene mini rallies as a build-up. They tend to be major events like the one that was attended and addressed by the Deputy President in Lower South Coast. People who are outside are more than those who are here. Outside we've got an overflow, which we believe in 30 minutes will already be packed.
Now, when is the program likely to start then?
The program is likely to start in 20 minutes. The Deputy President is in. The Deputy President of the country is also in now in the stage, and the President will be arriving soon, and the program will start.
The KwaZulu-Natal province has worked very hard in terms of growing its membership in this province. Is it likely to sustain this going forward?
We are going to respond to the call, because obviously we have to sustain this growth, but we have to build it into a qualitative growth, and this is what will be our focus this year.
Now, tell me about the challenges that are facing many people, especially about in this province as well, young people, issues of unemployment. What message are you giving to them as they celebrate this? Is it just all about celebration without taking into account the challenges that they are facing?
Surely there will be an outline from the President's speech which will be responding to issues of the youth and general people who are unemployed, on issues of skills development, on issues of youth development at large. They were sure that the statement to be delivered by President will address number of challenges that are facing our people.
This celebration is going to be a success.
It is going to be a huge success, and already want to extend our gratitude and thank the people of the province for the positive support they've shown so far.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
All right, Vuyo. That was Sihle Segalala, the provincial secretary of the ANC here in KwaZulu-Natal, just giving us a sense of what they've been able to do in terms of the week preceding this moment today.
Tammy, before I let you go there, we hear that the President will be arriving any time from now, and the program on the stage is going to start in the next 20 or so minutes. But I want us to go back to the conversation I was starting to have with you. Just from your observations, just from looking at what the party chairperson Baleka Mbete, Gwede Mandashe and Cyril Ramaphosa were doing over what is your assessment? What is your sense of what they were trying to do over the past week here in KZN?
Right. I think they're trying to emphasize the message. Remember, we are the next milestone now that is facing the ANC is the 2014 general elections. I think they're trying to make it a point. They're trying to make it a point that the ANC remains in touch with the people. They're also trying to make it a point that they must not feel that the leaders are detached from the people, and also to ensure that the issues that are affecting the people, a lot of hopelessness and despondency that we see coming from the people, in terms of the challenges that they are facing, that the ANC is indeed making some efforts to ensure that those challenges are being addressed. We saw the new Deputy President of the ANC as well, Cyril Ramaphosa, emphasizing the same message as well, as was part of the roadshow around this province as well, creating this excitement for people to come here to say that yes, there are challenges that are still remaining, but the ANC has made some strides in terms of addressing the socio-economic challenges of the people.
Now, Tommy, I mean, Gwede Mandashe and Baleka Mbete have been around. They have been re-elected, so they have been part of this leadership of the ANC for 5 years, and they've just been given another 5 years. But Cyril Ramaphosa is coming back, so to speak. What was the reception towards him? Were people warming up to him? Was how they saw him any different from how they saw Baleka Mbete and Gwede Mandashe?
Well, as he has correctly pointed out, I mean, Cyril Ramaphosa has been out of active politics for 15 years, and that's a long gap. That's quite a long time. 15 years is like a lifetime in politics to be out of the game, and everybody was worried and looking forward to see as to how people are going to receive him, and himself, how he's going to be able to relate with people. And we watched with you know what I mean, kind of a nervousness to see how Cyril is going to reconnect. But he did that very well, I must say. In Port Substance, he had a mini rally which turned out to be quite a huge rally, and where he again reconnected with the ANC supporters. He did that also in Pietermaritzburg. He was down on the ground. He was in taxi ranks. He was in shopping malls, reconnecting with the ANC supporters, and they're receiving him very well. And clearly they accepted that Cyril Ramaphosa is back in politics, and he's carrying the ANC message. Yes, he may be now on another level in terms of his wealth, but they accept that he can still be able to champion their own challenges, the ordinary people on the ground. That we got very clearly from the people as we interacted with them when they were receiving Cyril Ramaphosa during his interaction with them.
Lastly, and very briefly on Cyril Ramaphosa, Tommy, you went to one business meeting with him. A lot has been said about how Cyril is the kind of person that business would warm up to very easily. How was the reception? How did they receive him? How did business receive him?
Very well. They were very excited, I must say. In fact, that was the first assignment that Cyril Ramaphosa had this week. Very, very first assignment as the Deputy President of the ANC to talk to business, people. They were very excited, and you could hear when they were asking him questions that there's some inspiration. They are being inspired that perhaps now there's somebody who's the Deputy President of the ANC who is largely coming also from their ranks as business people, because Cyril Ramaphosa is a shrewd businessman. We know that. So there was that excitement as well.
Well, thanks there to Tommy Dixon. Well, President Jacob Zuma, as you can see on those pictures, has indeed arrived. So has the Deputy President of the country, Kgalema Motlanthe, and so has the Deputy President of the ANC, Cyril Ramaphosa. Well, just to give you a brief look into the life and times and where Cyril Ramaphosa comes from, here's a very short insert that I prepared a couple of days ago.
There were 3 nominations for Deputy President: Comrade Matthews Nakedi Posa, Comrade Cyril Ramaphosa, and Comrade Toko Sehwala. Comrade Cyril Ramaphosa is the successful candidate for Deputy President.
And with that, Cyril Ramaphosa's return to mainstream politics. A man with such strong presidential ambitions that once upon a time, together with Matthew Posa and Tokyo Sehwala, he plotted against Thabo Mbeki. But Steve Tshwete, the former police minister who had made the allegations, would later withdraw them.
I am convinced, after receiving the report, that indeed the investigations were thorough, and am happy to indicate that the names of these comrades have been cleared.
Ramaphosa would disappear from politics, well, almost, to focus on building his business empire. 23 years after this historic moment of the release of Nelson Mandela from prison, the Afro-dawning man seen here behaving like a chief marshal is not only a billionaire, he is among Africa's 40 richest people. A far cry from his humble beginnings as an activist in the South African Students' Organization. Ramaphosa really rose to prominence when he got appointed General Secretary of the National Union of Mine Workers. After his appointment, he would lead the mine workers in one of the largest strikes in the country's history. 4 years later, he would be elected Secretary General of the biggest and most powerful political party in South Africa, in one of the most bitterly contested ANC conferences.
I actually felt very humbled to have been elected in the way that I was. It was also a thrilling feeling that I had, that so much confidence had been placed on me by the delegates who've come to the Congress.
The position meant he would be Nelson Mandela's closest companion and primary aide. A relationship that would see the two men crisscross the world, raising money while also selling the former liberation movement as a sophisticated, modern-day political party ready to govern Africa's biggest economy. The bond would be so strong between the two that Mandela would be keen to anoint him to be his preferred successor. But it was not to be. At the ANC's 1997 conference, Ramaphosa stood against Thabo Mbeki for the position of deputy president. He lost. Speculation is rife that his return to politics may have everything to do with that deferred dream.
Well, a brief look there into the life and times of Cyril Ramaphosa, the newly elected deputy president of the ANC. Well, you can see there members of former members of Mkondo Wesizwe as the procession moves towards the stage. Well, proceedings are about to begin in earnest here. In other words, the formal part of this occasion, where that man you're seeing there, President Jacob Zuma, the president of the ANC, will be delivering an address on behalf of the National Executive Committee of the ANC. It's an annual event. It's something we in the media, as well as those who want to know about the direction of the country and where the governing party is taking us. It's something we all look forward. It's something we all look forward to, because in essence it gives us a sense of the thinking of the ANC. Well, to talk about the thinking of the ANC, or what the ANC should be talking about in 2013, given everything that has happened over the past year, we are joined by Mr. Zakhele, Professor Zakhele Ndlovu from the University of KwaZulu-Natal. Well, let's talk briefly about the context within which January the 8th, 2013 is happening in South Africa. What for you are the issues that the ANC should be talking about, perhaps more than any other thing?
Well, there's a number of issues. One, as you know, in 2014, there's going to be elections. So one of the biggest challenges facing the ANC government today is the issue of unemployment. There's high unemployment in South Africa right now. So I think the ANC would be looking to send a message that it wants to address the problem of unemployment. And then, of course, besides the problem of unemployment, I think the ANC, it has faced a lot of challenges. And one of the challenges that it has faced is the problem of factionalism.
before the Polokwane conference in 2007, we saw the ANC developing two opposing camps. And I think after the Polokwane conference, it has really struggled to do away with factionalism. In Mangaung, we saw this factionalism rearing its ugly head. I think one of the interesting things would be to see what's going to happen to those who supported Deputy President Kgalema Motlanthe. So, no, I think I would say factionalism is another issue that the ANC will going to have to deal with. I'm sure the president is going to speak a lot about unity because, as I said earlier on, the 2014 elections are approaching and the ANC cannot afford to go to the elections divided. So I think it's going to speak to that. And I think there's also the issue of corruption. I think there's a perception out there that under the ANC, corruption has blossomed. And so I think the president is going to try to talk to the ANC members and the public in general to say the ANC is totally against corruption, that it's going to fight corruption. I think as president, Jacob Zuma is going to say he's going to lead this fight against corruption. So I think these are some of the issues that he's going to speak about.
Let's start with the issues you've mentioned. Let's start with the internal party internal stuff, unity and now both in the speech that he delivered, impromptu speech he delivered after he was re-elected. And the top six were elected, but also in his closing address, he spoke about the need for unity. But is there something that can demonstrate, is there something that he needs to say today that can demonstrate that truly it is something that is, one, a priority for the ANC, and it's something that they want to prove to everybody or show everyone that it is indeed something they are committed to doing something, practically doing something about it? Are there things that he needs to say today that will demonstrate that their concern about unity goes beyond simply saying we need unity?
Well, I think he's going to have to say something to send a message that the ANC is not a divided organization, that the ANC is an organization for all South Africans, that even those who support, say in the case of Mangaung, those who supported Kgalema Motlanthe are still members of the ANC, and that those who supported Kgalema Motlanthe will get positions, and that those who are already occupying certain positions will be able to keep those positions.
Okay, we are going to keep talking, Dr. Ndlovu, but right now we're going to go straight to the podium, and that is where we're expecting the anthem to start any minute from now.
Sanbonani. Sanbonani. Amandla. Sicela ke manje ukuthi sisukume obaba bakhumula amakapisi nezigqoko abahambayo beme sonke sime sithule silindele iClermont Choir ezosilida ku-national anthem. Sicela wonke umuntu ame ngokuzola khona sizocula ingoma yesizwe, the national anthem silidwa iClermont Choir. Qalani ke.
Sicela umfundisi national chaplain wethu aze ngaphambili azosilida kuma opening prayers in the scripture reading and opening prayers.
May we listen to the word. May we please listen to the word from the book of Isaiah, chapter 43, verses 2 and 3. When you cross deep rivers, I will be with you, and you won't drown. When you walk through fire, you won't be burned or scorched by the flames. I am the Lord your God, the Holy One of Israel, the God who saves you. To me, you are very dear, and I love you. May we now invite Maulama Gafa Yusuf from the Muslim faith to lead us.
اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا مولانا محمد المعدن الجود والكرم صلاة وسلام عليك يا سيدي يا حبيبي يا رسول الله الصلاة والسلام عليك يا رحمة للعالمين وعلى آلك وأصحابك يا شفيع المذنبين الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. All praise is due to Allah, creator and sustainer of this entire universe. O Allah, we thank Thee for creating us as human beings from all the creations that You have created, and You have sent us as the followers of all Your prophets. O Allah, we thank Thee for giving us a beautiful country like South Africa. And O Allah, at this moment we make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives success to the ANC as it has given in the past. This is that political body that had fought for us when we were suffering. This is the party that stood up for us. And O Allah, grant the President Jacob Zuma the strength and the courage to lead this country towards success as he had led this country in the past. وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين بفضل سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
From the African religion, may we invite Gogo Mankomo.
Makhosi Baba Msholozi nekhabhinethi yakho yonke ongqongqoshe ominister egameni lomkhuleko esizokhuleka namhlanje sizonxenxa obabomkhulu nokhokho namabutho ethu asalala o-R.A. Tambo o-Raymond Mhlaba o-Chief Albert Thuli o-Chris Hani o-Lilian Ngoyi o-General Masondo o-Harry Gwala o-Josiah Gumede o-Langani Balele Dube o-Walter Sisulu. Sithi namhlanje uma sila sizothi umbutho ka-ANC awuqhubeke uye phambili, kuphele izingozi emgwaqweni, kuphele ukubulalana, kuphele ukudlwengula abantu abadala nezingane. Sithi ena kuphele nalesi sifo esikhona esesibulale izwe. Sithi namhlanje masizokhuleka wasilekelela amabutho alala elelwa lomzabalazo ka-ANC. Sithi phambili ngo-ANC phambili.
And now, great Lord, Spirit of wisdom, Spirit of light,
Spirit of God, we now stand before you and we come to you in many forms. We uphold your generosity of life that you have given the African National Congress for 101 years. We stand before you in confession that yes, in carrying out the mandate of the people, we might have left things that we're supposed to have done and we did not do. But we did those things that we were not supposed to have done. But we come before you and say, accept our humble request for your forgiveness, and let us continue to be your people as you have given us this mandate to lead your people in this country. I intercede now for the president of this organization, President Jacob Zuma, that you give him wisdom and you guide him as he takes the new term. We also put before you the other top officials who had joined the confidence of the conference, that you also give the gift of collective wisdom for collective leadership. Make them to be the candidates of servant leadership as they lead you. We also pray for the members of the National Executive Committee who have been elected to work along our beloved President so that we may be able to be led according to their collective wisdom. Lord, at this time we also intercede for the health of our father, Nelson Mandela, that you continue to speed up health so that he may be able to have long life. We pray for all the leaders of this organization in all the levels that you have given to us. We also pray for all the members of this organization. Guide and protect us. Guide and protect the President from those within and outside that they are distractors. We ask you now to bless this occasion and let us listen to the voice of our leader as he gives us the way forward for this year. And this country, let it gain from this wisdom. We lift all these things to your care, knowing that you are the God who listens to us. You are Elohim, you are El Shaddai. Be with us, Makbenjalo. Amen.
Thank you very much for the prayers. During the prayers, bekukhona umsindo. Now we know ukuthi abantu bakithi bayawuhlonipha umthandazo. That noise was about excitement, nothando. Makuthandaza abantu abaqhamuka kwezinye indlela zokuthandaza. Now khona inyakanyaka ekhona laphayana sicela ukumemezela ukuthi abantu bazofakwa endaweni ezisasekhona lana estagini, kodwa istadium sesigcwele, abanye abangaphandle kwamagate bazothathwa bayobekwa endaweni ezikhona, the overflow areas bese sivele sihlelele lokho. So siyaxolisa kulabo abangakwazanga ukungena, laba sebephakathi bazofakwa ngokufakwa endaweni ezibonakalayo ezikhona phakathi estadium. Istadium sigcwele. Istadium sesigcwele, abangaphandle bazohanjiswa bayobekwa kuma overflow areas. Nalokho ke kukhombisa uthando lwe ANC. Viva ANC, viva! Gizobiza usihlalo uqabane wethu ubaba uZweli Mkhize azosemukela. Provincial Chairperson Comrade Zweli Mkhize sisanitsheleke yena ke ngoba niyazi ukuthi sidecide emangawu kodwa ke sisanboleka yena wozwa ke Comrade Zweli Mkhize.
Amandla! Viva ANC, viva! Viva COSATU, viva! Viva South African Communist Party, viva! Viva Comrade President Jacob Zuma, viva! Viva ANC KwaZulu-Natal, viva! Viva ANC the Eastern Cape, viva! Viva ANC in Gauteng, viva! Viva ANC Mpumalanga, viva! Viva ANC Limpopo, viva! Viva ANC Northern Cape, viva! Viva ANC Northwest, viva! Viva ANC Free State, viva! Viva ANC Western Cape, viva! Viva ANC Women's League, viva! Viva ANC Youth League, viva! Viva MKMPA, viva! Manda! Comrades! Comrades, ake siziphathe kahle. Sivule indlela ngoba kucinene la phansi. Indawo isekhona ngapha kwa left abanye baye khona. Comrades, nisiphathe kahle msana ukugijima. ANC mningi kakhulu asifuna ube khona umuntu ozonyatheleka. Phambili nediscipline kwa-ANC phambili. Comrades, cela nilalela mamashali ningaphushani. Nu-ANC nonke, noma usemuva u-ANC noma uphambili u-ANC. Hahlale phansi bamba umthetho. Hahlale phansi bamba umthetho. Hlala phansi, hlala phansi, hlala phansi, hlala phansi, hlala phansi, hlala phansi, hlala phansi. Hahlale phansi bamba umthetho. Hahlale phansi bamba umthetho. Akuculwa amakhomre hlalani phansi. Comrade President of the African National Congress and the Republic, Comrade Jacob Zuma, Comrade Deputy President of the ANC, Comrade Cyril Matamela Ramaphosa, Comrade National Chairperson, Comrade Malaka Mbete, Comrade Secretary General Kotemantashe, Comrade Deputy Secretary General, Comrade Jesse Yasmin Duarte, the members of the National Executive Committee, the leadership of the Alliance, the South African Communist Party, COSATU, the President, the Secretary General, and all other members, the General Secretary of the Communist Party, Comrade Blake, and other members, the President and members of SANCO, the Deputy President of our country, former Deputy President of the ANC, Comrade Kgalema Motlanthe, ministers, of government, premiers, members of executive committee, the Speaker of the National Assembly, National Chairperson of the NCOP, and all members of the National Assembly, mayors, and all councillors present, the leaders of MK, MVA, commanders and commissars of Umkhonto weSizwe, the leadership of the Women's League and the Youth League and Veterans League who are here, and the leadership of all provinces, the chairpersons who are here, and all members of the provincial executive committees and regional executive committees and branch leaders. Makomrez nonke siyanibingelela. We want to take this opportunity on behalf of 331,000 of loyal and disciplined and respectful members of the ANC in this province and all the people of KwaZulu-Natal to welcome the President, the National Executive Committee, and all the comrades who come from various provinces. We feel specially honored as the people of KwaZulu-Natal to be hosting the very, very important 101st birthday of the African National Congress. We feel that the ANC has given us an honor because every province always wishes to host this special event. We feel particularly blessed because this is happening soon after the conclusion of a very successful 53rd conference of the ANC. We want to say to the leaders of the ANC, KwaZulu-Natal is proud of the leaders who were elected in Mangaung. KwaZulu-Natal is proud of the decisions and the resolutions that were taken in the conference of Mangaung. We want to thank the comrades of the Free State for being very wonderful hosts to all the ANC members who are alive there for the conference. But we want to also thank all of those who never had the chance to go to Mangaung but were part of Mangaung through the TVs and the radios. The ANC in KwaZulu-Natal sent a huge delegation, and we want to say we are also proud of the contribution of those delegates coming from KwaZulu-Natal. Okusithokozisa kakhulu ukuthi kuleyo nkomfa kwabuyiswa isithunzi sikaKhongolose. Okusijabulisa kakhulu ukuthi kwathathwa inqumo zokuthi amahlongandlebe azoxoshwa kaKhongolose. Okusijabulisa kakhulu ukuthi kwathi makhetha ubuholi kwakhetha ubuholi okwathi noba bungakaphumi eMangaung kwakuhloko izwe lonke lijabula ukuthi namba abaholi abazosithatha basela siyakhona. The resolution to support the National Development Plan, the resolution to strengthen the structures of the ANC and root out bad elements and bad tendencies is highly supported. We therefore want to say, as the province of KwaZulu-Natal, all the ANC needs to do is to call on us. We shall be there. Siyafisa kunemukela nonke. Semungele kakhulukazi National Executive Committee efika la umsebenzi wayo wokuqala ikhethiwe. Siyafisa ukhalalisela uKhongolose kule minyaka eyikhulu nonyaka. Sithi halala Khongolose halala. Happy birthday ANC, happy birthday. Busa msholozi wase South Africa busa. Busa Khongolose South Africa busa. Qina Khongolose qina. Hlangana Khongolose hlangana. Mandla. 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 Kula Khongolose KwaZulu-Natal kula. Kula Khongolose South Africa kula. Mandla.
Thank you very much, Comrade Zweli Mkhize, Provincial Chairperson. Ma comrade, sengizocela manje ama-league kakhongolose womathathu elandelana azobingelela nje ngoba siyalibona nezulu nali seliyaguqubala. Asiqale nge-Young Lion ilandelwe omama bese kugcina ke ingwevu ezobimele i-Veterans League bazobingelela. Woza Comrade Lamula, ulandelwe umongameli we-ANC Women's League bese kulandela i-veteran. Sizwile ke ukuthi ubaba uMlangeni ozomela ama-veteran. Ngicela balandelane kanjalo ngingabe ngiseza ngizobethula.
Amandla! Amandla! Kula ANC, kula! Viva President Zuma, viva! Viva President Zuma, viva! Thank you very much, National Chairperson, the President of the ANC and the newly elected NEC. The ANC Youth League is not suffering from a Mangaung hangover. Well, comrades, we have accepted and respected the outcomes of Congress. And we call upon all the youth of South Africa to rally behind the ANC and the newly elected NEC. It's only the ANC that can resolve the social challenges of young people of South Africa. We call upon the leadership of the ANC to declare youth unemployment a national emergency. The youth of South Africa must be actively engaged in employment opportunities. Their energies must be properly harnessed in various programs of government and ANC. We also call upon the youth of South Africa to take education serious. Comrades, the time of an AK-47 is over. Education has replaced an AK-47. The new weapon of the struggle is education, and as young South Africans, we must participate and skill ourselves. As we conclude, because the President of the ANC is the one who will address us, we want to condemn the work in the Department of Transport here in KwaZulu-Natal that led to the dying of 8 young people who wanted to be traffic officers. As the Youth League, we want answers. The department must account to the nation. The youth that is disparate must not be used by any person, and that is exploitation of the youth and their interests. Amandla! Amandla! Kula ANC, kula! Viva President Zuma, viva! Thank you very much.
Viva President Jacob Zuma, viva! Viva Deputy President, viva! Viva leadership ANC evelokhethe Mangaung, viva! Malibongwe! Malibongwe! Igama lamakhosikazi malibongwe! Program Director, as the ANC Women's League City, Kongolo Sokula, Kongolo Sikula. Siphilele Khongolose siphilele. Usilwele impi zethu zobumpofu. Usilwele impi zethu zokuswela imisebenzi. Usilwele impi zethu zokungathuthuki. Sikhulele Khongolose. As the ANC Women's League Program Director was saying, on this 101st year of the ANC, my Kuli ANC, ikhule kulonyaka oyi-100 years we-Land Act yasithathela umhlaba. Ikhule iKhongolose ngalonyaka omama bama 100 years edlulile eFree State bama belwa ubumpofu belelwa izwe elathathwa. Sithi uKhongolose ngomkhonto wakhe aqhubeka silwela impi zethu siqhubeke. Sithi ngeshield yakhe futhi uKhongolose asivikele kwi-unemployment, kwi-poverty ne-underdevelopment. Was say as the ANC Women's League, let the ANC continue to be a shield for us as women, as children, and people with disability. And let it through his shield protect us and enable us to move towards full emancipation and also full liberation. Simthembile uKhongolose ngoba uye yedwa uKhongolose ozokwazi ukusiqhubekisa siye phambili. So program director ngithi siphilele ANC siphilele. Ukhule ANC ungakhokhobi, ukhule uzokwazi ukulwa ezinye izimpi, kula ANC kula.
The Veterans League joined the ANC and all its structures in supporting the new leadership and all the resolutions taken at the Mangaung Conference. Today, we are honored and privileged to be celebrating the 101 years of our movement. We are proud as veterans to be the third league of our movement during this historic day. In honor of our forefathers, the founders of our mighty African National Congress, these forefathers of ours had a great vision and dreams. And today we have to be a very proud nation. We have to be a proud ANC because of the powerful leaders that we had. And they laid a wonderful foundation for us to carry it on. Let us be proud that we belong to the mighty movement, the ANC. Let us all stand together. Let us work together and make this country a wonderful country. We, the veterans, we plead very strongly that all the children of this country must go to school and learn, because without education, we won't be able to be very strong economically. Let us pray for our father uTatu Madiba, simbekele emithandazweni yethu ukuthi asiphilele. Ngalawo magama ngithi viva ANC. Happy birthday ANC. Thank you.
Sesicela umama upresident weSANCO azobeka 2 minutes alandelwe ubaba upresident weKhosathu Comrade Dumo Dlamini 2 minutes bese kuba uqabane uBlade Nzimande. Comrade Ruth Bengu, president of SANCO.
Amandla! Viva ANC, viva! Viva Khosathu, viva! Viva SACP, viva! Viva Sanko, viva! Malibongwe! Program Director, Comrade Baleka, the President of the ANC, Comrade Jacob Zuma. Sanko congratulates the ANC for reaching 101 years of existence. It is an outstanding achievement for a liberation movement to reach 101 years and remain strong and relevant to the people and the cause of the struggle. The ANC is in good hands of a trusted leadership of Comrade Jacob Zuma and the elected NEC. Sanko fully supports the ANC leadership elected in Mangaung. Sanko enjoys a strategic position that no other issue-based organization enjoys, that of being part of the alliance, ANC-led alliance. We want to take the advantage of that situation and play a meaningful role in the process of building a developmental state. We have made a steady progress on that cause. We understand that role of Sanko to be that of organizing other issue-based organizations to build a revolutionary civic movement that subscribes to the ideals of the Freedom Charter. Since our last national conference in 2008, we have brought closer to SANCO, the South African Commuters Organization, the South African National Association of Cooperatives, the South African National Taxi Association, the National Association of People Living with AIDS, Izwi Labafelokazi. We are organizing child-headed families to form their association, which will speak on the needs of child-headed families. In understanding the phase of transition the country is entering, SANCO has developed a development-oriented poverty reduction strategy. We have adopted cooperatives as a weapon to fight poverty, unemployment, and corruption. We have designed a cooperative development model that targets child-headed families, women-headed families, families appearing on the social grant and indigent grant. We believe that this approach of SANCO would reduce the dependence of poor families on government handouts. We support the policies of the ANC that were adopted in Mangaung, and we will use SANCO structures to implement those policies. Amandla!
Amandla! Viva ANC, viva! COSATU congratulates the African National Congress in its 101 years of existence. We want to greet the leadership elected at Mangaung and declare for all to know, COSATU, united, solid, supports the leadership collective elected at Mangaung. We shall work with this leadership in taking forward the resolutions of Mangaung. We shall defend this leadership against any tendency that may seek to divide them. We want to warn our media to stop what they are beginning to try to do, to want to position our leaders one against the other. We are happy that this leadership is alive to that challenge. You won't succeed. We want to make a call as we sit down, Comrade Chairperson. The challenges faced by the workers of this country are still a reality. We will continue to make the call that as long as labor brokers exist in this country, it is difficult to achieve decent work. We shall continue to make the call that unemployment, as long as we remain with the economic policies that do not seek to address the problem, unemployment remains a challenge. We call for all workers of this country, COSATU in particular, to make sure that as we engage with the ANC, both in the boardrooms, both in the streets, we shall do so in ensuring that the ANC delivers. We shall do so in ensuring that the African National Congress remains the relevant organization that continues to liberate the people of South Africa. Sabe siloku sisho sithi ithi Zuma, isho ikunyathela akekho zawuma endleleni yakhe. Ngiyabonga.
Amandla! Viva ANC, viva! Phansi ngamaveleshona, phansi! Phambili nombutho wabantu, phambili! Ngibingelele maqabana kumongameli kaKhongolose nabo bonke abaholi abakhona lana kunina nonke. Egameni lamabova asemzansi SACP sicela namhlanje ukuthi sibongele uKhongolose kulomnyaka wayo ka101. Sibonge nokuthi uKhongolose okokuqala ngqa usenamalunga u1.2 million kuya ngaphezulu. Sibongele umsholozi nabaholi abakhethwe eMangaung sithi nxamalala ume njalo. Uma ke namhlanje sibhiyozela iminyaka e101 kaANC, usuku lokuthi sibhiyozele nenqubekela phambili esikhona kule minyaka u19 ilethwa uANC. Labo abathi kwakungcono ngaphansi kweapartheid nabathi akukho ubuholi kulelizwe sifuna ukubona namhlanje ukuthi sithi ingoba bakhulelanga endlini zodaka, abakwazi ukungabi namanzi, abakwazi ukungabi nezindlu zangasese, abantu abadla izambane likapondo, masingavumi ukuthi inqubekela phambili yethu sitshelwe igwili namaphephandaba azo. Namhlanje sondla ingane ezingaphezu kwa8 million ezithola ukudla esikoleni, into engakaze yaze yenzeka. We therefore want to say we must celebrate these achievements and not be diverted by professional cynics and professors of doom who will always try to negate our advances and progress. We still have many challenges, as Comrade Zuma has said, but let's use the opportunity for infrastructure, comrades, to make sure that that money doesn't go into the stomachs of individuals, but that we truly create jobs for the majority of the people of our country. We wish to take this opportunity also, Chairperson and President, to say to Helen Zille, do not be like a crybaby
ask national government to intervene in the Durban. Go and tell those farm bosses to negotiate with the farm workers and give them a decent wage. Ungazositetemela njengengane ngoba labasebenzi basemaplazini abaningi babo abawazi u1994 ngoba basahleli njengeqhili abanye baze bayophonswa ngisho emphandwini weNgonyama imbala. Sesiqeda-ke maqabane. Sifuna ukuthi thina njengamashoshozela kaKhongolose neAlliance ake siphume maqabane sibe semphakathini yethu ukuyokwenza isiqiniseko ukuthi sakhela phezu kwalezi zinto ezinhle esezenzekile. Ake siye kuma-school governing bodies, siye kuma-community policing forum, siye kuma-street committees and be everywhere where our people are. Ngalawo magama sithi happy birthday Khongolose, happy birthday. Amandla!
Amandla! Maqabane kukhona umuntu olahlekelwe i-membership card yakhe. uCharles Thubalenhlanhla Magubane. Charles Thubalenhlanhla Magubane nanti ikhadi lakho lana. Sizwile kulaba bebefanele ukuthi bahlale kuma-overflow areas ukuthi leza indawo ebezihleliwe zigcwele amanzi. Siyavula-ke kule ndawo engala ngakwa-left kwami. Sicelile abantu be-security ukuthi bavulele abantu bayohlala kuleya ndawo esemva kwe-stage. So siyacela futhi abantu ukuthi bakhuphuke zikhona ezinye iy'tulo ey'vulekile lapha phezulu. Bangene nakuzona khona sonke soba khona kulo mcimbi obalulekile we-ANC. Iy'nkokheli zika-ANC ziyathanda ukuthi sibe sonke. Ngakho-ke sizama yonke imizamo ukuthi abantu bathole indawo zokuhlala. Ngelikhulu ishwa lezi eniyibonayo iy'tulo la ngezansi ezigrey. Zikhiyiwe asikwazi ukufika kuzona ngoba ezabanikazi bazo. Abaney'mali ey'shisiwe abayithengayo bese beyakhiya mabengekho bona. Siyaxolisa-ke ngalokho kodwa lezi ezisemva kwe-stage ey'ningi ey'grey. Sicelile ukuthi abe-security bavule abantu bahambe bayohlala laphayana ngoba leza indawo zama-overflow zigcwele amanzi ngenxa yemvula. Njengamanje socela i-musical item from u-Amazing Grace bangene ngokukhulu ukushesha phambi kokuthi sibize umongameli samukele nelambu phambi kokuthi imvula ifike. Abe-Amazing Grace abangene. Sheshisani bo nansi imvula izosifica. Ngenani Amazing Grace. Khwelani stage. Akusaxoxwa manje shonani khona.
One, two, one, two. Amanda! Amanda! Umthwalo wami wonolo. Wasona. Kithi amehlo ami wo. Phezu umthwalo wami umthwalo wami umthwalo wami asisho sonke umthwalo wami wona lo umthwalo wami It's you hola la 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 It's you hola la la Woza! Ayaya Zuma, Ayaya Zuma! Aymo! Nangu Zuma, it's a win! Nangu Zuma, it's a win! I was Zuma, it's a pen! I was Zuma, it's a pen!
Asimdedele ubaba umhlanganyelwa. Asimdedele ubaba ugedle ihlekisa inqwele masonto. Asimdedele umongameli azokhuluma nabantu bakhe. Comrade President, please come and address us.
Amandla! Awethu! Matla! Yaruna! All power! Oh, hinde!
yinde lendlela esihambayo, yinde lendlela esihambayo, yinde lendlela esihambayo, yinde lendlela esihambayo. Washu Mandela kubalandeli bakhe wathi sodibana nge-freedom day. Washu Mandela kubalandeli bakhe wathi sodibana nge-freedom day. Yinde lendlela esihambayo, yinde lendlela esihambayo, yinde lendlela esihambayo, oh yinde lendlela esihambayo. Amandla awethu siyabonga. Thank you very much, Mphathi wohlelo, Deputy President of the ANC, Comrade Cyril Ramaphosa, former Deputy President of the ANC and the Deputy President of the country, Comrade Kgalema Motlanthe, the National Chairperson of the ANC, the Secretary General and the Deputy Secretary General, the Treasurer General of the ANC, the Alliance leadership, members of the National Executive Committee of the ANC leagues, all of them, the Women's League, the ANC Youth League, and the Veterans League, MKMVA, our friends who are with us today on our big day when we celebrate our birthday. Comrades, compatriots, and friends from Africa and the world. We meet 100 years since the promulgation of the 1913 Land Act, which dramatically robbed the indigenous people of our country of 87% of their land and turned them into pariahs and wanderers in the land of their birth. We mark 100 years of the seat of power, the Union Buildings in Tshwane, which was a center of oppression and discrimination until the dawn of freedom in 1994, when it became a symbol of democracy, hope, peace, unity, progress, and development. It is 100 years since Charlotte Maxeke organized women to protest against the past laws in the Free State. It is 90 years since the introduction of the Native Urban Areas Act of 1923, or PASS laws, which designated all urban areas in the country as white areas. Black men had to carry permits or passes to be in town. We celebrate 70 years since the adoption of the landmark human rights document, the African Claims, in South Africa at the 1943 National Conference of the ANC. 65 years ago, the National Party came to power on the 26th May 1948, marking the formal introduction of apartheid. This served to institutionalize racism, segregation, and the dehumanization of black people. It is 60 years since the promulgation of the Bantu Education Act of 1953, which created a separate and inferior education system for black children in South Africa to serve the interests of white supremacy. It is 50 years since the Rivonia trial, which resulted in long-term imprisonment for members of the MK High Command. We mark 15 years since the establishment of the Organization of African Unity, which fought tirelessly to free this continent from colonialism and racism, and to unite the African people. It is 40 years since the Durban strikes of 1973, which reignited the fighting spirit of our people. 30 years ago, the Republic of South Africa Constitution Act was introduced in 1983, creating the tricameral parliament, an attempt by the apartheid colonial regime to undermine the unity of the oppressed. It is 30 years since the formation of the United Democratic Front in the Mitchell's Plain in Cape Town, uniting the masses of our people behind the ANC to hasten the dawn of freedom. We celebrate 25 years since the ending of South Africa's administration of Southwest Africa and the granting of independence to our sister nation of Namibia, thus opening the door to the liberation of our own country. This year commemorates 20 years since the brutal assassination of Comrade Chris Hani, the former General Secretary of the South African Communist Party and NEC member of the ANC, a painful attempt to derail our march to freedom. We celebrate 20 years since the awarding of the Nobel Peace Prize to our former president, Isitwalande Nelson Mandela, who remains a symbol of peace, unity, and reconciliation in our country. And today, we proudly celebrate 101 years of the African National Congress, the oldest liberation movement in the continent, which brought about freedom and democracy in our country. The 53rd National Conference of the ANC in Mangaung deliberated at length about the impact of this racist legacy, which resulted in the persistent poverty inequality and unemployment in our country. As we enter the second phase of the transition from apartheid colonialism to a national democratic society, we commit ourselves to a program of action to speed up the elimination of this legacy and bring about socio-economic freedom. Comrades, the ANC has since 1994 made substantial progress in consolidating democracy, achieving political stability, extending basic services, and promoting respect for values and various freedoms that are enshrined in the Constitution. We recall that our country's Constitution, which is one of the greatest achievements of our liberation movement and our country, has its roots in the key ANC human rights documents, such as the 1923 Bill of Rights, the 1943 African Claims, and the 1955 Freedom Charter. In this regard, we call on ANC members and citizens of this country to celebrate, promote, and defend the country's constitution at all times. We also urge ANC members and all our people to honor the country's national symbols, which define who we are as people. Compatriots, our economy continues to face skewed patterns of ownership and production. It is characterized by inequality, dualism, and marginalization. In addition, the monopoly domination of the economy is an obstacle to the goals of economic transformation, growth, and development. As we said in Polokwane, decisive action is required to thoroughly and urgently transform the economic patterns of the present in order to realize our vision for the future. Given the realities in our country, we opted for a mixed economy where public, private, cooperatives, and other forms of social ownership complement each other in an integrated way. Within this mixed economy, we reaffirm the active and interventionist role of the state in ensuring economic development. It must be a state that has the capacity to intervene in the economy to lead development. The promotion of diversity is also pivotal. In this regard, we'll open up space for more Black South Africans and more women to participate in the economy. This participation must be as employees, as creators of jobs, and importantly, as owners of the means of production. These goals, we shall achieve through a range of measures contained
in our development blueprint, the National Development Plan. The plan sets out various methods to tackle unemployment, poverty, inequality, and other challenges facing our country. We urge all South Africans to unite behind the National Development Plan and work with government to eradicate poverty, reduce unemployment, and eliminate inequality by 2030. Some of the key programs of the National Development Plan are already being implemented. These include the new growth path framework with its major infrastructure development program, as well as the state-led industrial policy. The Infrastructure Development Plan has introduced the national and central coordination of the building of dams, roads, bridges, power stations, schools, hospitals, 2 new universities, and other infrastructure that will change the landscape of our country and the lives of our people. We call on government to hasten the implementation of all 18 strategic infrastructure projects, especially those directed at the 23 poorest districts in the country. The projects include, on the 23 districts, including some projects in the 23 districts will ensure the provision of water, electricity, and sanitation, and will change the lives of approximately 19 million people. A few of the districts that will benefit are John, Taolo, Gaetsewe, and Northern Cape, Gaka Modiri, Molema, and Ruth Mumpati, and Northwest, Mopani, Greater Sekhukhune, Capricorn, and Vembe in Limpopo, in Zululand, Amajuba, Utugela, Sisonke, and Oku from southern Natal, Ehlanzeni from Mpumalanga, Adfrenzo, O.R. Tambo, Krisani, Amatole, and Ukahlamba from the Eastern Cape, and Kharib in the Free State. The ANC government must also hasten the supply of water to 1.4 million households and of sanitation to 2.1 million households that are still without these basic needs. The eradication of mud schools and the refurbishment of more than 2,000 schools and 886 health facilities nationwide must also be concluded as part of the infrastructure program. We call on the private sector to participate actively in the infrastructure program. It provides an opportunity to partner with our government for sustainable development and job creation. Comrades, mining has historically been the backbone of our economy and should still contribute meaningfully to our economic development. We call on the ANC government to place the state mining company at the forefront of state intervention in the mining sector. We have also resolved that the state must capture an equitable share of mineral resources rents through the tax system and deploy them in the interest of long-term economic growth, development, and infrastructure. Government must implement this resolution. Importantly, the extraction of minerals should not disadvantage workers, local communities, or the environment. Mining should create safe and decent jobs. In this regard, the ANC has directed the fast-tracking of the work of the Special Presidential Package Initiative designed to improve the living and working conditions of workers in key mining towns following the unfortunate Marikana tragedy. We call on all role players, government, labor, business, and the community sector to work together to make this special project to succeed. Comrades and compatriots, as outlined, the year 2013 marks the centenary of the 1913 Land Act. The words of our first Secretary General, Comrade Sol Plaatje, have special resonance when it comes to this matter. He said, and I quote, "Awakening on Friday morning, June 20, 1913, the South African native found himself not actually a slave, but a pariah in the land of his birth," unquote. In 1994, we inherited this highly inequitable distribution of land ownership. 87% of the commercial arable land was owned by white farmers and businesses, and 13% of arid was in the hands of the African majority. We state categorically that the Land Act marked the beginning of all the problems we face today, such as landlessness, poverty, and inequality. Land was taken away from the African people in order to turn them into a cheap reservoir of labor. Overnight, people who had land and cattle suddenly had nothing and lost their self-reliance, dignity, and independence. This historical injustice must be addressed in order to complete our freedom. Former ANC President Dr. A.B. Zuma outlined the importance of land in his December 1941 presidential address. He said, and I quote, "The fundamental basis of all wealth and power is the ownership and acquisition of freehold title to land. From land, we derive our existence. We derive our wealth in minerals, food, and other essentials. On land, we build our homes. Without land, we cannot exist. To all men, of whatever race or color, land, therefore, is essential for their wealth, prosperity, and health. Without land rights, any race will be doomed to poverty, destitution, ill health, and lack of all life essentials. Unquote. At the 52nd National Conference in Polokwane, we committed ourselves to transfer 30% of the 82 million hectares of agricultural land, which was white-owned in 1994, to black people by 2014. The ANC government is unlikely to meet this target given the slow pace of land reform. We have directed our government to urgently speed up the process through a variety of measures. The implementation of these measures will take into account the principles contained in the Constitution in relation to land expropriation. We will replace the principle of willing buyer, willing seller, which has not sufficiently addressed the problem. With the just and equitable principle when expropriating land for land reform purposes. In addition to what government has already done to implement land restitution program, our government will reopen the lodgement date for claims and provide for the exception to the 1913 cut-off date to accommodate historical landmarks, heritage sites, and descendants of the Khoi and San who lost their land long before 1913. These amendments to our laws will take effect this year. There will be special programs to remember the injustices perpetrated under the 1913 Land Act. We call on all South Africans to commemorate this landmark with a view to correcting the wrongs of the past and to cement reconciliation. We appeal for cooperation between those needing land and those who must release land, both assisted by government, so that we can meet the targets we have set for redistribution and restitution. Compatriots, an important part of a developmental economy is the relationship between workers and employers. This relationship is underpinned by the right of workers to demand better wages and working conditions, and the right of employers to listen, put their views across, and engage in negotiations. The best forum for regulating labor relations has traditionally been formal bargaining structures. We cannot replace this system with informal arrangements by workers, as that is not sustainable and will disadvantage the workers. The right to strike and other labor rights are enshrined in the Constitution, and we urge role players to conduct themselves within the ambit of the Constitution. We call on workers not to undermine the right to strike or to protest by engaging in violent action which undermines their cause. We call on employers to enable workers to exercise their labor rights freely while exercising their own rights as employers, which are also enshrined in the Constitution. Compatriots, youth unemployment remains a major challenge in this country. The private sector, public sector, youth organizations, and trade unions must unite in action to address youth unemployment through broad, holistic interventions that do not jeopardize the jobs of existing workers or undermine workers' rights more generally. Given that the youth is the future of our country, we direct our government to expand vocational training, link skills development with industrial growth and job creation, and extend support to the youth in accessing and developing skills. Comrades and friends, we will continue placing education and skills development at the center of our transformation and development agenda. Programs to expand access to education include the no-fee schools, school nutrition programs, expansion of early childhood development and grade R enrollments, as well as bursary and loan programs at further education and training colleges and universities. Improved teaching and learning environments in schools remain a priority. We reiterate the non-negotiables in education and call on teachers to be in school in class on time, teaching for at least 7 hours a day. We call on learners to dedicate themselves to their studies so that they become productive members of society. Given that education is a societal issue. We urge parents and the communities to participate in the day-to-day development of children and ensure the success of their schools. We congratulate the 2012 matric class and welcome the gradual improvements in matric results nationwide in our country. The ANC encourages teachers and learners to ensure an improved quality of the passes each year. The ANC is committed to the development of indigenous languages. We call on our government to make preparations for the introduction of the teaching of our indigenous languages by 2014. The ANC shall lead by example through being the champion of education and skills development in this phase of the revolution. We call on every branch and every ANC member to strive to improve the literacy rate and general level of education and skills among the people in their ward. They must also be involved in a project or program to improve the quality of learning and teaching in all schools in their areas. Comrades, the introduction of the National Health Insurance remains on track and plans are in place to introduce the NHI fund by next year. We call on all South Africans to embrace the NHI for better and affordable health care for all in our country. The ANC congratulates and thanks South Africans for the successes scored in the HIV and AIDS campaign since 2009. The rate of new infections has decreased. Mother-to-child transmission of HIV has also decreased by 50%. $1.7 million South Africans are on antiretroviral treatment. These measures and others have dramatically improved life expectancy. Last year, the Medical Research Council published research findings including that life expectancy in the country had risen to 60 years in 2011, up from 56.5 years in 2009 as fewer people died of AIDS. A major insurance company this week announced a 20% drop in life expectancy claims and attributed this development to government successes with the HIV and AIDS programs. We call on ANC members to work with communities to further promote the campaign. The ANC calls on government to improve the management of hospitals and welcomes the measures that are being put in place to employ qualified chief executive officers to ensure efficient healthcare provision in hospitals. Measures to improve efficiency will also include national government assuming responsibility for the management of academic hospitals directly attached to medical schools. Our hospitals must become centers of excellence, which are clean and efficiently managed. We call on all health professionals and workers to treat every sick person and their families with care, empathy, and professionalism. We also urge ANC members and all in society to become actively involved in campaigns against the abuse of alcohol, drugs, and other substances to promote healthy lifestyle. Comrades and compatriots, the ANC welcomes the progress that has been made in the fight against crime and corruption. We urge our institutions to continue their hard work and not to become complacent. We call on ANC membership to assist the police and the communities to combat violence against women and children, a crime that continues to afflict our society. We appeal to ANC members and society in general to remain vigilant and support the fight against corruption. Corruption is the enemy of development. It diverts resources meant for the poor. We must continue supporting law enforcement agencies, fight corruption, including the Chapter 9 institutions. Comrades, the ANC government will review the powers and functions of the three spheres of government to provide greater clarity on the roles and functions of each sphere. To promote interactive governance, we call on all ANC members of parliament, legislatures, and councils to report back to communities on the achievements of our government. We remind all ANC deployees that where infrastructure and resources exist to deliver services, there can be no excuse for these services not to be delivered. We now know where the gaps exist, and it is time to deliver the services that will improve the lives of our people. We call on our people to exercise their rights to protest against unsatisfactory service delivery in a peaceful and orderly manner as provided for in the Constitution. Comrades and friends, we shall take urgent and practical steps to deepen our contribution to the renewal of the African continent through actively supporting African Union programs and those of SADC and other AU structures. We shall continue to work with other progressive forces in the world to achieve a just and more equitable world order. We reaffirm support for the people of Western Sahara in their struggle for self-determination and independence, and continue to support the campaign for the release of the Cuban Five and the end of the blockade against Cuba. We remain unequivocal in supporting the Palestinian people in their struggle for self-determination and in the support of the two-state solution to the Palestinian-Israel question. We shall continue to pay attention to South-South cooperation and in particular relationships within India-Brazil, South Africa grouping and the non-aligned movement. The ANC will start an awareness and educational program to deepen the understanding of the importance and relevance of BRICS among citizens and in civil society. We support the proposed establishment of the BRICS Bank of the benefit of South-South development cooperation, including Africa's development. We urge our government to ensure that the G20 discussions are focused on stabilizing the world economy and to realize a more equitable global economic system. We will promote Nelson Mandela Day across the continent and the world, given Comrade Nelson Mandela's role as a symbol of the ANC's commitment to a humane and caring society. Dear comrades, all these programs will require a strong, effective, and united African National Congress to execute them for the betterment of society. We reaffirm the character of the ANC as a disciplined force of the left, a multi-class mass movement, and an internationalist movement with an anti-imperialist outlook. Being non-racial in outlook and character, the organization will continue to have a bias towards the poor and the working class, the majority of whom are Black and African, until we have achieved equality and social economic freedom. The ANC will continue to promote unity within its ranks and amongst South Africans. We emphasized the importance of unity last year when we celebrated the centenary of our glorious movement. Indeed, unity is the rock upon which the ANC was founded as President Mandela pointed out in a message sent to the ANC conference in Kabwe, Zambia in 1985. We call on all members to guard this unity jealously and to strengthen all the structures of the movement and the alliance in pursuit of socio-economic freedom. Comrades, the structures of the ANC and partners should continue playing their respective role in advancing the National Democratic Revolution. The ANC Women's League continues to be a critical voice in the fight for the emancipation of women. As said by Comrade O.R. Tambo, South Africa will not be truly liberated until the women of this country are liberated. The ANC Youth League remains an important and critical structure of the ANC. We shall work with the ANC Youth League to address its challenges and will empower the League to continue to live up to its proud legacy of being a preparatory school for ANC cadetship. The ANC Veterans League was established to reinforce our efforts to revive and strengthen our traditions, values, history, and unity. The ANC must do more to assist the Veterans League to fulfill this critical role. The Umkhonto weSizwe Veterans Association is an important structure within the ANC, representing men and women who were prepared to lay down their lives in defense of our people and for the attainment of freedom. The ANC will continue supporting our former combatants in their reintegration into society and to enable them to play a meaningful role in the organization. The ANC remains unwavering in its commitment to the alliance with the South African Communist Party and the Congress of South African Trade Unions. COSATU and the ANC must continue to work together, with the ANC playing its historical role as the shield and COSATU the spear, as pronounced by the President General of the ANC, Chief Albert Luthuli. The two organizations, plus the SACP, must continue to act in unison to defend and advance the interests of workers and the poor. The ANC, as the leader of the alliance, has the responsibility of providing revolutionary support to the alliance components. The SACP and COSATU, in turn, have a responsibility to strengthen and defend the ANC. The South African National Civic Organization is an important component of this broad mass democratic collective. Comrades, the ANC will develop a program of action based on the priorities finalized in Mangaung. This will entail developing programs to give effect to the decision that the next 10 years will be the decade of the cadre. We will revitalize all aspects of our cadre policy: recruitment, cadre development, deployment, accountability, as well as cadre preservation. The political education, general education, academic training, and skills development of the membership and leadership of the movement will receive priority attention over the next decade. ANC members will be required to have spent longer periods in the structures of the movement before they can become eligible for leadership positions. We took a decision in Mangaung that for a member of the ANC to qualify to be a member of the National Executive Committee, such a person will need to have served in the ANC continuously for 10 years in order to foster better understanding of the organization. We will build the ANC's capability to act truly as a strategic center of power organized along the pillars of transformation: the state, economy, and international work. We will build the ANC's capacity to act truly as a vanguard movement for transformation, leading a wide range of progressive social movements in struggles to change the legacy of apartheid colonialism. The program will also entail the revitalization and redesign of grassroots structures of the ANC and their reorganization so as to enable them to focus on solving the problems of the people. The ANC will mobilize the masses to take an active role in development and governance processes, ensuring that our people become their own liberators. We shall take urgent and practical steps to professionalize and modernize the operations of the ANC. Comrades, the ANC must continue to vigorously adhere to its core values and principles of unity, selfless service, collective leadership, democratic centralism, internal debate, humility, honesty, hard work, constructive criticism and self-criticism, discipline, and mutual respect. To maintain these core values, the movement must continuously prioritize organizational discipline and eradicate the alien tendencies that have crept into our movement over the years. These tendencies include factionalism, the violent disruption of our meetings and attacking other comrades, public spats, and unauthorized public utterances the use of money to buy members, gatekeeping, and the manipulation of ANC processes for predetermined outcomes. We drew a line against ill discipline at the National General Council in 2010. Anyone who crosses that line will face the consequences. Conference directed that the NEC must develop a code of conduct booklet and circulate it to all branches. The NEC must also urgently develop the guidelines and constitute the Integrity Committee to promote ethics within the movement. We call on all ANC members to subject themselves to the discipline of the ANC. The ANC is the leader of society, and our behavior must always be beyond reproach. Comrades, working with all sectors of society, business, labor, women, youth, religious leaders, traditional leaders, non-governmental and community-based organizations, the ANC will continue working tirelessly to achieve a truly non-racial, non-sexist, democratic, and prosperous South Africa. We should remember, comrades, at all times that the ANC is the only organization capable of uniting the people of South Africa around a common vision of delivering a prosperous South Africa. We delivered freedom, and we will deliver prosperity and socio-economic freedom in our lifetime. Comrades, the ANC Annual Achievement Awards are initiated to promote a greater focus on the organizational tasks of building branches, strengthening local government, and building the leagues. The awards aim to highlight the features of strong branches and councils and to reward best practice within the movement. The awards are named after outstanding cadres of the ANC, whose individual qualities of commitment and selflessness are an example to every ANC member. We are pleased to announce the winners of the ANC Achievement Awards for 2013. The Sol Plaatje Award, conferred on the best performing ANC branch, goes to the Liliesleaf Farm branch in Gauteng. The Charlotte Maxeke Award, conferred on the best performing ANC Women's League branch, goes to the Yodwa Sokwaba branch in Mpumalanga. The Anthony Lembede Award, conferred to the best performing ANC Youth League branch, goes to the Toby Lebam branch Walter Sisulu University, Eastern Cape. The Z.K. Matthews Award conferred on the best performing group of ANC councillors goes to the ANC councillors of the Richmond Municipality, Moses Mabhida Region, KwaZulu-Natal. Comrades, we congratulate the winners on their hard work and commitment and trust that they will continue to be the best examples of the ANC. We salute all the comrades who passed on during 2012. May their soul rest in peace. Fellow South Africans, this month, South Africa will happily receive our brothers and sisters from the continent as we host the Africa Cup of Nations. We look forward to a successful and exciting tournament as we showcase Africa's best. We extend our best wishes to the national squad, Bafana Bafana, which we hope will surprise many as they prepare to do battle on the soccer field later this month. Comrades, the ANC carries the aspirations and hopes of millions of our people. As members of the ANC, let us cherish this privilege and place ourselves at the service of the South African people at all times. The NEC declares 2013 the year of unity in action towards socio-economic freedom. Amandla! Awethu! Matla! Yarona! All power! All power! Siyabonga kakhulu, riyalebuka. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Comrade President. Siyabonga nakulaba bangaphandle abawu-20,000 sesizwile ukuthi bakhona and inkokheli khokhelwa umongameli zizoza zizobabingelela la ngaphandle. Bakwethu ke bekufanele ngabe ilambu leminyaka eyikhulu lingene phambi kokuthi upresident akhulume kodwa ngoba besesithukele amafu emvula sabona ukuthi hayi ubaba akakhulume sizocela ke manje ukuthi sisukume ngokuhlonipha nangokuthula samukele ilambu. The centenary flame is now about to join us. And it is important for us to note, the symbolic importance of the centenary flame coming in today. Ngoba ubaba uyivalile ngokusemthethweni iprogram yecentenary. Kodwa namhlanje ilanga lokugcina lokuthi ilambu libe sendaweni evulekile la sikhona khona nabantu bakithi, iy'memo member ze-ANC nabantu abathanda futhi abaxhasa umbutho. So this is the last occasion for the centenary flame to be out in the public. Kodwa asilicishi ilambu. Ngoma noma siwavalile ama-activities, noma sivalile i-program, kodwa i-ANC ngokwayo iyilambu lanaphakade phakathi kwabantu. Okusho ukuthi ke ilambu.
Well, ANC President Jacob Zuma, the closing, giving that speech, which in essence gives both the ANC and those, of course, who are taking their cue from the ANC on what they need to do in their respective areas of work, giving them marching orders, outlining the priorities for the governing party and what it is that the ANC hopes the rest of South Africans will assist it in achieving. Well, joining me now is Imran Bukas from the University of KwaZulu-Natal. Your overall sense of?
Well, for you, I think it was as expected. I think the key areas that came out of the national conference have been covered here. It is significant that we're moving from process of political democratization to socio-economic freedom, socio-economic transformation. And I think it's significant that this particular January 8th statement is now focused on socio-economic freedom. And I think that in many ways was expected also.
Outline for us like a couple of those issues that had particular resonance for you on socio-economic challenges facing the country today, and whether in fact the ANC, as you say, has won the grasp, but also stands as in a pole position to actually implement the decisions that it took at the conference in December.
Yeah, I think if we had to concretize it, the focus is on the National Development Plan. I think it's very much on that, the new growth path. I think it's also focused on how the ANC starts to address unemployment. I think the real bloodbath of unemployment here is the unemployment of youth. You know that as well as I do, that 50% of people in South Africa are under 30. The vast majority are unemployed. And in order to advance any kind of project of socio-economic transformation, I think would need to focus on how the government seeks to address unemployment amongst the youth. And I think if that doesn't happen, it has serious consequences for the country. Also significant, I think, was the focus on land ownership, moving from the kind of willing seller, willing buyer paradigm to one around some kind of justice, some kind of equity in terms of addressing.
We're talking about a whole range of festivities and occasions to mark the 1913 Land Act, but also everything that. Do you think land is going to occupy that central position this year?
I think land needs to occupy it. It's 100 years since the Land Act of 1913. I think much of what has happened and gone wrong in Southern Africa, north of our borders, has been around the lack of focus on land redistribution. So that becomes an important point.
Imran Bukas, unfortunately, we've run out of time. I'm going to hand over to my colleagues, Tammy Dixon and Blaine Hammond, who are going to